No, I forgot.
Okay, Amy's on a call.
Right.
I'm here. We are jumping right into the podcast today. We got a new little ambiance. I moved my light. We previously had a light right next to me, right over here. I moved that behind me, a little bit out of shots. On Amy's side of the matter, did I lose something? I moved hers as well. Previously, it was right next to her left shoulder. I moved that behind. But we started the pod in January, and we've allowed the pod to a little bit help us evolve in our vision and direction. But if you don't know who we are, I'm Derek. I'm her big brother.
I'm Aimee. I am the little sister.
And one day, we won't be here. And we don't know what that day what might be.
Yeah.
But our kids might ask deep, meaningful questions, and we wish they might wish their parents were here to answer.
Mm-hmm.
So we created this podcast, If Our Kids Ask Podcast, to document our answers to their potential questions. So we'll jump in. We wrote 10 questions. We put those in the notes that we asked ChatGPT for meaningful questions a child might ask their parents. And here are the questions that they came up with. So we'll hop into number one, where what are the most important values you want to pass on to me? Do you want to take the question first? Do you want me to take the question first? Where you at?
I'll jump right in. I think that what I would say to my kids is a very important value, I think, is to try not to hurt another person.
Whoops.
Physically or emotionally. So I know that sometimes, you have to be harsh, or you have to say something, that might be hurtful or harmful, but for the most part, you should try to always, treat others the way you want to be treated.
Okay, quoting some Jesus over here, which is good. I don't have the same value of not hurting people. I find myself asking, is there, it's kind of what we talked about last week. You asked a question last week about the idea of wrestling or Kalel hitting, your 1-year-old, or what is it now, 13, almost 13 months
Yeah.
old son. Like, perspective on him hitting his dad, him hitting you, and like what's playful, what's not. And I think my position then was about this idea of context. So you would potentially find out the context where it's completely okay. Because again, maybe I cited back then, which was like the idea of a context of nakedness. I would go, that's good in the context of marriage. It's good maybe at a doctor's appointment. In those settings, nakedness is appropriate and good and helpful and appropriate. Other contexts, not so much. So similar to asking the question about not hurting others, I think it's in what way do you hurt others? An example, so let's say for whatever reason, you and Jeremy made the decision that Kalel was cool to play football, but he was not to hurt anybody, but he played the defensive position. And it's almost with the territory that there is an element of hurt that comes that they're going to be doing defensively with tackling another person. Maybe not the main purpose isn't to hurt, but maybe it comes with the situation. But no, that makes sense. Again, I there's no way to argue with the golden rule: do to others as you would have them do to you.
Mm-hmm.
With you 1,000% on that. Good. All right. Anything else on values? I guess I'll answer my side of values. Actually, if my son, go ahead.
Only thing, also, maybe even if you're okay with something, if someone else is not okay with it, try to also be respectful of that too. Because I know, like, some people are like, oh, I don't care if, whatever. But if somebody else is uncomfortable with it, maybe try not to do that either. Like, I think when I was taking classes in college, I had my books downloaded onto like my iPad, right? And there was another girl there, and I think she was from like, I want to say she was from Nigeria,
Yeah.
and she like was sit next to me, and she was asking me like, what is everybody looking at? And I was like, oh, like we all have the book, you know, like everybody has the book. I have the book on my iPad. So she took my iPad and she starts looking at it, like, and she's holding on to it the whole time. And like, some people are comfortable with that, you know. Some people are like, I have found that a lot of people, especially like from that culture, are more like they share a lot of things without having to ask, you know, they're real generous. But that same, like, the same girl, she ended, like, you know, I talked to her more often, and I had told her that a couple of, you know, weeks later, I had said something about how I needed to go pick up money for my car because I didn't, you know, because I wanted to get lunch before my class or something like that. And she was like, oh, like, I think I have $5. Like, you can have my $5. And so I was like, oh, okay. You know, like, some people, me personally, would I go and take somebody else's iPad, you know, and just start using it for myself without asking? No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me.
Yeah.
But, you know, some people just think that that stuff's okay, you know. I also wouldn't give my last $5 to somebody I don't know.
Which, okay, so let me see if I understood the concept, which was this. So it's the idea of, okay, so you the value you're trying to give to your sons is be mindful of other people's values in the middle of practicing your own.
Yeah.
And so, are you the example to follow? Is she the example to follow, or both of the examples not necessarily to follow?
Yeah, I think either way. Like, you know, I wasn't super comfortable with her, you know, taking my stuff so that she could do her own exam or whatever. But you know, I kind of tried to just not be like, you know, make a big deal out of it. It's like, okay, whatever. And I think, you know, try not to get bothered by being considerate of other people's values as well. So I think that's it. Like, one, I could have been, you know, I felt right. She probably felt right. So at the end of the day, try to just do your best to understand that somebody else might have different values than you. And yeah, even though someone else or you might be treating someone else different than they are normally used to, or, you know, somebody might be doing something to you that makes you feel like, oh, they're not treating me the way that they would want to be treated. But in reality, like, their values are different than yours. So you just have to be mindful of those kinds of things.
Trying to navigate. How does somebody know when they're practicing that, and how do they know when they're not? Maybe help me understand more of that.
Like, if they're not following the same values, what do you mean? Like, if they're not...
Okay.
Example, like...
Okay, so maybe back to the example. So she... Maybe, so I think the example that I was hearing from you, aiming to describe was, hey, she seems to be a generous person. She assumed you were generous too with her iPad. So then I guess she assumed that you were generous and cool with you using her iPad when
her using my iPad.
Her using your iPad when you weren't necessarily, and that could have caused problems for her in other contexts. It would have caused problems with you. So to be respectful of other people's values and knowing that it might not be your own?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. All right. So sorry, I was over here trying to navigate and fix my controller over here. Which controller is just kind of acting up, so we'll just have to move on. All right. So to my son who was asking about this question, values. So I think the easy Christian answer is like, oh, love, you know, or patience or kindness, and as individual values, and then defining those is kind of interesting because, you know, I think when a Christian says the word love, sometimes they do mean being kind or uplifting. Sometimes they mean patient, as in not flipping out when things aren't going your way. which is again, this is one variation of it. But then there's another Christian definition, a Bible definition of love, which is very, very much about sacrifice. So I could just kind of go off and quote passages like there's a chapter in Galatians chapter 5 that talks about this idea of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. There's a passage in Colossians 3 that talks about something similar, which is the clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. There's other passages in the book of James. So like I could quote passages and go, hey, go look at those virtues. Go look at the characteristics of an elder, the characteristics of an overseer. But what I would, if let's say some people, and I try to just be mindful of this, my son. There's not a guarantee that my son's gonna be like, yeah, like
Follow the Bible.
hey, I'm down with the Bible, or the Bible
Yeah.
is, I'm rocking with it. I'm good in there. What in the world are you doing? Why are you?
Their little holes are stopped up in my salt. So I pulled out a bike pump needle.
Why do you have that on your bag?
Because that's my running bag. So I have a jogging stroller that has the bike tires on it.
Gotcha.
So
Prepared. Okay, so let me see if I capture it in this chapter. Ooh.
see, now all the little holes are clear.
Okay, so if my son was asking me about values, and of course, because I'm not able to be there, the good news about this question about what values do I want to pass on is I've already described those in a few of the books, but in the most recent book on the motivational speaking book, he could go to chapter 4, which is deliver principles rooted in virtue, and I list virtues there. In the subnote that I wrote, it says the moon provides light because it's positioned to reflect the sun's brilliance. So this idea of what we reflect. And if he wanted a list of virtues, I think I got it here.
I feel like I'm at church.
Amen. Let me see here. I thought I had a list here. Maybe I don't. Maybe I put it in a different section. Either way,
Da-na. Well, how does the thing go? Da-na-na-na, na-na-na-na, da-na. Is that it? I'm pretty sure that's it.
Jeopardy?
Is that how that goes? I don't know.
I'm so curious if it's not in that chapter.
I always think like, especially when you're like a teenager, I feel like what always is running through your mind, but is the thought, oh, but you weren't in like my specific situation. Like things are different. I like this situation specifically would call for something else, you know? That's what I think. Cause like, I don't know. That's how I felt. I think when I was a teenager, I felt a lot like this situation is different.
Okay, so I found it.
It wasn't different.
It was, so it's not in the 4th chapter of the book. It is actually toward the end of the book. And the chapter that it's in is winning your own life to fortify your message. And so I wrote down 40 concepts, 40 values or concepts if you compare one to the other. So it'd be like number 1, honesty is better than deception. Number 2, humility is better than arrogance. Number 3, confidence is better than insecurity. Number 4, gentleness is better than harshness. Number 5, building up others is better than tearing others down. 6, depending on God is better than only depending on self. 7, believing achieves more than doubting. 8, compassion is better than apathy. 9, kindness is better than rudeness. 10, patience is better than anger. 11, diligence is better than laziness. 12, objective perspective is better than subjective perspective. 13, generosity is better than greed. 14, rebuke is better than flattery. 15, planning is better than haste. 16, contentment is better than consumerism. 17, gratitude is better than anxiety. 18, listening is better than speaking. 19, serving others is better than bossing others. 20, blessing people is better than insulting people. 21, lending is better than borrowing. 22, confessing mistakes is better than hiding mistakes. 23, upfront confrontation is better than private concern. 24, selflessness is better than selfishness. 25, gift giving is better than stealing. 26, gracious persuading is better than manipulating. 27, purity is better than corruption. 28, persisting is better than quitting. 29, serving the poor is better than serving the rich. 30, learning is better than stagnation. 31, wholesome language is better than vulgar language. 32, encouraging is better than criticizing. 33, courage is better than cowardice. 34, multiple investments are better than a singular investment. 35, providing for the family is better than neglecting the family. 36, causing benefit to people is better than causing struggle. 37, keeping your word is better than breaking your word. 38, modesty is better than lewdness. 39, evaluating a commitment is better than a rushed commitment. And 40, collaboration is more effective than individual effort. So, anyway, it's there's two kind of connected chapters. One was about the message you're giving to people. If you're speaking to people and communicating to people, whether you're writing or speaking or facilitating, to think about the principles you're trying to convey. That's from the earlier chapter, like deliver messages rooted in value. But then the latter chapter in the book is, as a communicator, the more you win in your own life, the stronger your message becomes.
Yes.
So
nobody's going to listen to a homeless man on the corner preaching about life, success and what to do.
Or take workout advice from Homer Simpson.
That's true.
Okay. That's where I would go with that one on values. Any other thoughts on that one?
No.
Number 2. Can you share a memory or story from your childhood that shaped who you are today?
Ooh. Let me think. Ooh, do you already have one? Ready, ring. Okay, so
childhood would include 17
and under.
To birth.
Yeah. Okay, so
when I was coming out of my mother's womb, I had to persist.
If I'm thinking about it right now, let's say, what kind of person am I right now, right? So, let me think of like a specific memory. I can think about like things. I know that like certain, just attitudes and certain things have made me more mindful. Like I know that like the memory of, or even just like, the memory of running late. I really, really, really dislike running late. I know that I always remember like in the morning I would have to be at school, right? By like 8 o'clock or, I think maybe 7:30. I don't know. Whatever it was like an hour before actually school starts. It was for, I think, freshman year, like pep, right? And if I wouldn't get there on time, I would have to do burpees for every minute that I was late.
For the class?
Yeah. For the practice in the morning. So we'd have practice in the morning before school starts.
Okay, so you said it was prep?
Pep. Yeah.
Pep. That was like SAT prep.
No.
Got it. Okay,
so
cool.
I would have to do burpees for every minute that I was late. So I would get real upset, like when I would wake up, I'd get ready, I'd do everything, and then right before we were about to walk out the door, Mom would be like, "Oh, well, let me go pee one more time. Where's my keys? Oh, where's my phone? Whatever." And I'd get so stressed out because then I'd get to practice and I would be like 15 minutes late because school was already, 22 minutes away. So then it was like every extra minute we were spending at the house was more traffic building up, and different things. So I would get super stressed out. So I feel like that has brought me to the point now where I leave for things like super early a lot of the time, especially if it's like I'm going to suffer consequences if I don't get there on time, or especially like for Khalil, like if he has a doctor's appointment or he does something, I always try to leave super early.
Yeah.
And that jersey fire emoji.
Why are you looking at that, bro?
Yep, Peroni. Anyways, so yeah, I think, but I do know, like, so then the memory that I have is Mom would then turn around and say, "Well, if you know that I take longer, you need to wake up super early and get ready super duper early so that we can get there on time. Anyways, so that motivates me to one, also like understand that I'm more patient now. So like I understand. It's funny because I see Jeremy's not used to, mom's, oh, let me find my keys, let me find my purse, let me do this. And I know I get like that sometimes too now. So I have found myself like building more patience now because of, years and years of having to deal with that. And it's like, okay, well, it's basically what I was taught was it's really nobody else's fault other than your own. Like if there is something you can do to prevent this, if you can wake up at 6:00 in the morning and have me get ready at 6:00 in the morning, then I take you that early, then that's what you should do instead of you waking me up not early enough and then you don't get there on time. Then that's your own fault. So I think, and yes, at the time it made me super angry. I would get super upset, I would get mad. And but I feel like now I've gotten to a point where it's like, okay, I tell Jeremy the same thing because like something will happen and we'll be running behind, and Jeremy will be like, well, like, we're running behind because of you or because of Kalel or because of, you had to do this, you had to drop this off at your sister's or whatever. And I said, okay, well, you knew that I had to take a shower. You knew I had to drop that off at my sister's. Why didn't you go drop that off while I took a shower? Why didn't you, I'll give him all these scenarios of like, okay, well, why didn't you get Kalel's this ready? Why didn't you start the car? Why didn't you, do XYZ,
Yeah.
So it's like I now have that mindset of if there's something I can do to avoid this becoming a problem or somebody, causing me to be late, then I try not to put the full blame on everybody else, And I think that comes from, that's something that Mom taught me in her own aggressive tone. But yeah, that's definitely a memory.
I was totally gonna clown you, but you totally saved yourself. But then you also went back down. So again, what I've been like describing, like the
sandwiching.
Well, like the idea of like neurodivergent, or the idea of like thinking about what somebody says and like almost having to hold the narrator. So then to me, like the narrator vibe, which is like, now Aimee is telling a story when she's a hero again. That's you. It's you and Mom. Okay, the villain is really clear. Mom, the hero is really clear. Aimee, oh poor little Aimee. She was running. She was so punctual, but she blamed her mom. And then the next one was your secondary story in support of that. Was it? I thought there was one before Jeremy. No. There was. I thought that was the second one. Either way, punctual accountability. Yeah, so. Then you were saying it. So like back to those three eras that we go through, whether it's idolizing a parent, demonizing them, and then humanizing. So it sounds like you had went through the humanizing. Oh, like now you get it and you relate to it. So like there was, oh, I'm not the hero of the story. So then, hey, there was the, hey, Aimee's the hero, Mom's the villain. Okay. Oh wait, now she's going, oh, I'm just as a villain as she is. But then you came back and you were a villain again when Jeremy was the villain and you were the hero and you were the great noble teacher passing on your wisdom to him so he knows how much wisdom you have. And then you came back and said, hey, Mom taught me something. Back to, oh, there's no noble maturity in her own, harsh
aggressive
way.
I'm pretty aggressive too. Like I'm pretty aggressive to Jeremy too sometimes when I do it.
Yeah.
I try really
Yeah.
I see myself and I'm like, reel it back in, Terry.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's good. I would cite, I think playing basketball early on, there would be different pockets of playing basketball where I felt like I would be like in zone mode. And then I think in high school, I think it was so like overly analyzing, overly thinking, overly like thinking about everything. And I think, so then there's a couple of things that happened. So one, when I began like in my junior year of high school, so I'm 16, 17, my junior year, 17, 18, my senior year. But in my junior year, I remember a couple of things that happened. So I began really trying to seek after God in that season and in that time period. And I remember ultimately realizing that basketball doesn't really mean anything. Like there's a glass board, there's a metal rim, there's nylon net, there's a leather ball, there's wood court, and it's like, oh, we're trying to like throw all these things that we kind of created, and there's hype around it, there's cheering or whatever. But in the grand scheme of things, if you zoomed out big enough, nobody really cares. Like if we win this game or lose this game, or if I made the game winning shot or the game losing turnover, it doesn't. What happens between these lines doesn't actually matter for the most part. But I remember like even my junior year of high school, started the year on varsity, and then the coach was asking me what I thought about going to JV, and I was like, yeah, I'm down, if it means more playing time or whatever. Like I just wanted to be flexible. But the thing about it is our junior team, we had like 12 juniors that were on the team. So 12 juniors that were already on varsity, they would be coming back. And then so for me to go to JV, it was almost like I remember telling people at the gym, if I go to Go Gym to play basketball, and we would talk about the team setup for the following year. They're like, oh yeah, you're never going to play next year. Like you won't get any playing time. It's, if you think about it, they might have a sophomore on the team. From that class, they might have they'll have the 12 juniors that become seniors next year. So you'll be one of 13 seniors on the team. There might be juniors on the team, and there might be a sophomore or two on the team. So this idea that you're going to get any playing time your senior year is pretty minimal. But it's like, yeah, that was a really logical perspective that, yeah, probably so. I probably won't be playing very much. So then when I began my senior year, again, so in my junior year, I remember it was like, let me do whatever I can. Let me lift weights. Let me actually run on the track team to get better, to get faster. To be able to jump higher, whatever, on the track team. But all of that happened. And then my senior year, ultimately what came about was some injuries happened to my teammates. I ended up getting a lot of playing time. From a mental headspace and my mindset, I didn't think it was the most important thing in the world, because it really wasn't. I thought I had like God in my life. And so then my senior year, I did really well. So again, our team did we were like ranked 7th in the state, 1st in the city. And then I remember making the all-district first team, which whatever, the top 5, top 10 players in our district, and we had 2 really solid teams even from a state perspective. Mm-hmm. But the lesson was I was not among whatever the top 15 players getting solid playing time my junior year. And then the story could have ended there, which is like, oh yeah, you quit. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Even in my own story, again, to provide the same harshness, I was teasing about the potentially roasting you. If I did the same thing to myself, it was the first part of the story. I wasn't the hero, right? I was cut from the varsity and put on the JV team, which kind of feels kind of weird. It's like, oh, I got my Letterman, but why would I wear it? Because it's like, am I really on this team or not? So it's like, I was going in my closet. But then the heroic turnaround was that I was, again, one of the top 3 players on our team, and then one all-district first team, and we were the 7th best team in the state, so it had a significant role in the team. So all of that, I was like, oh, just because it looks like you're not going to have an opportunity doesn't mean you're guaranteed to not have an opportunity.
Yeah.
I think that was a really significant thing for me, and I've seen that ultimately play out across my life with different opportunities that I've had.
Yep.
Any thoughts?
So even though we don't believe in perfect memory here in this this space,
in this circle of safety,
yeah. Another memory I have, which I don't. Do you ever like remember something and for some reason it just always sticks in your head? So like I remember one time you said.
Am I the hero or am I the loser in her story? We'll find out. Just kidding, go ahead.
You said that Mom had mentioned to you one time about anytime you're coming fast over a hill to slow down, just in case on the other side of the hill there's a parked car or a car stalled. So I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I know we don't believe in perfect memory. So right. I'm not 100% sure that this is how it's gone, but I remember you saying like you've been in those situations, coming over a hill, going fast, and then thought in your head like, oh, mom said to be careful going over hills, so you'd slow down, and right over the hill there would be like an accident or there'd be like a car. So you felt like, those specific words have stayed in your mind, and I think they've stayed in mind to mine too. So
Yeah. And there's like the country song that says like I hear voices, and it's the idea of like all the people that have given you advice along the way. And I think about that because I remember even when I was started to drive, I think it's with Christian Shanice's dad, Clarence, and I would take these hard right turns and hard left turns, and I never thought like in my head, I didn't think there was a speed to which you were supposed to make turns. And he was like, oh yeah, like 10, 15 miles an hour tops when you take a turn. Again, why was it him, of all the people I had driven with, whether it was mom or friends or whatever, nobody had ever said anything to me. Again, not my older sister, not somebody else, but it was this guy actually said, the way you're supposed to turn is you slow down 10, 15 miles an hour. I was like, oh, so then I feel like I never turned a sharp again for the rest of my life. So you just think about little things that happen.
Yeah, I think that all the time.
Yeah, and I mostly deploy the imperfect memory when it comes to arguments. It's like one, arguments are stupid in and of itself, but then they're even more stupid if you think about how imperfect our memories are.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I appreciate the nod to that.
Yep.
All right, number 3.
Yes, number 3.
What was your proudest moment in life?
Oh. Do you have one?
I do. So mine starts with teaching, a teaching concept. It's a framework. So John Maxwell has the levels of leadership, the 5 levels of leadership, and you can memorize them. There's 5 of them, and you can memorize them based on the letters of that I'll spell out here. So there's ones that all start with the letter R. It's this the idea of why people are influenced by you. So the lowest level is they're required to follow you. This is maybe mom in some positions where she is the boss. So if somebody don't follow her direction, she can terminate them.
Yeah.
So they have to unless there's something at stake for them to not have the job anymore. Then the second reason people follow you, and it's the higher, more noble reason they follow you, is because of the relationship. There's a friendship. This might be like a grandma, a grandparent, an older sibling, or even a sibling of yours that you're close to, that it's not really, you don't have to listen to them. You don't have to really give them credit or advice or give them a spot to be able to influence you. But based on the connection, this might be your friend that you go to dinner with or you connect with. So it's the relationship. So you have requirement and relationship. The next one is results. So people have seen what you've done, whether you got a promotion at a job, or you started a business, or you wrote books, or you built a studio. Like, so they see the results of something that you've done, and they want similar results in their lives. So you have required, relationship, results. And then the next one is reproduction, or this idea of you invested in them specifically. Something you did for them helped them, whether you coached them or you wrote for them, or they heard you speak, they heard you on a podcast. Something you said benefited their life, and they're going, oh wow, I went to that person and they actually helped me. So they kind of reproduce some kind of character or skill in me. And the last one is respect. And this one is more about character. So if people follow you on level 1 because they have to, they're required. People follow you because they're connected with you with the relationship. On level 2, level 3 is that they follow you. They're influenced by you because of the results you have. They follow you because of how you've deposited into their lives. Is level 4, that reproduction, and that 5 is respect. People follow you because who you are and what you represent. Mm-hmm. So I remember back to the proudest moment of my life. I think it was in 2021 when we started doing like a South Side service, a church service. Because I was like, oh, like the idea that a group of people trusted Angelita and I to lead this church service. And I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy because they don't have to do it. We do have I have relationship with them. There are results in my life, and I have deposited in a lot of people's lives at this point, and hopefully more and more as I go forward. But it seems that there's an element of respect. Like they respect who I am and however, as imperfect as I am, as all of my shortcomings and all of my mistakes, which I've tried to detail and count those mistakes out. But in all of those, I have seen that it's a really, really deep honor to be asked to lead something that's so sensitive and precious when it comes in a church setting.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I remember those church services. How fun. I didn't know you were asked, though. I thought you volunteered.
I volunteered after I was asked.
Oh, okay.
Which even the story behind that, maybe I'll story time that right quick. So the idea then, it was COVID, of course, had a lot of churches not having services at all. We were doing it virtually from home. Like you log in or you see the YouTube video, and then you get with your small group after the thing and you have a discussion, maybe take bread and take a cracker and some grape juice for communion. But then after that, they said, okay, we want to start having churches again, but first outside. So outside all over the city, they wanted to do a service. They wanted to do a south side service. So they asked me if I knew anybody who had a location where we could do the outdoor service. So we ended up doing it off of
Pennystone.
Pennystone, yes. So when we did that, they asked me if I knew anybody. So I asked Mom. Mom said I have the property off Pennystone. And then, so we had the outdoor service. And then I think 2 or 3 weeks later, we did a second one. 4 or 5 weeks later, we did another one. And then finally it was too hot. And then we started doing it at the church building on Surrey. So it was like one organic thing after another happened. But yeah, they asked if I wanted to preach. But I didn't know it meant preach and lead and kind of coordinate the whole service as well. So that was that. That was definitely an honor of a lifetime. Again, like there's no guarantee that'll ever happen again.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, honor of a lifetime. Your
Amazing.
answer.
My answer. So I would say, obviously I love Kalal, right? But I would have to say the thing that I personally in my life have been the most proud of is that I have been able to help my family members who previously had not enrolled in school like afterwards.
Yeah.
Then go back and enroll in school. So like because I did it first. So I first went and I applied. I figured out how to get my financial aid. I figured out how to do everything without anybody helping me. So then whenever it came time to help, Pops or Krish or Shanice or anything that they needed, I was able to then go turn around and help them. So that made me feel good. And I've been able to tell my cousins or even my friends if you need any help, I've already done this, so just ask me so I can help you out. Or even when you do your financial aid and you do that kind of stuff, you have to have your taxes done. Or I've been able to help my friends do their taxes and stuff like that. So
yeah,
stuff like that.
I like it.
I like that.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of these questions, they're designed for us to talk about, again, our glorious moments. So they hear about those as well. So that's good. No, that's awesome. I'm glad you're able to do that.
Even now, so that I'm with Jeremy, I still help Jeremy do all of his stuff. I have no idea what he was doing before me. No idea.
Yeah. Good.
But yeah, I do all his stuff too.
Good. All right. All right, next one.
And if I'm alive, hopefully I can do it for Kalel and Fetus.
So still not mentioning his name publicly?
I don't know. If I decide
on
the name and then we change,
Yeah.
I don't want Jeremy to change the name.
Yeah. Nice. So do you think as you do that, you are So the expression goes, feed a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Do you see yourself being somebody who's going to be teaching them how to do it so that they can do it for themselves, or hey, I'm going to do it for them?
I've tried, like, I will try to teach someone how to do it. Jeremy doesn't pay attention. Jeremy doesn't care to pay attention because he's like, we're married. You know, where are you going? But I do try to, like, I have tried to teach other people. Like, I think I probably showed Krish maybe one time, and she figured out how to do it after that because she was on top of it. She was a learner.
Okay. Okay. This question is, what do you believe are the keys to a happy and successful life?
Patience. Hard work, dedication. I think enjoying what you do, or finding a way to enjoy everything you do. That's pretty much the extent. I don't know. Read about it. Educate yourself.
When you were talking, I wanted to go. All right, so you were going. I was like, you said patience. I said, my brain goes 1 Corinthians 13:4. Then I was like, and you were like hard work. I was like Colossians chapter 3. Then I was like, this. My brain's going to different Bible places. But yeah. So happy and successful life. What are the keys?
I also think not overcrowding your life with too many people.
Look at Brian over here giving you some credit today.
Brian says Nipsey Hussle once said, dedication, hard work, plus patience. Great answer.
And where did that lead him?
Death. Mom says only the good die young. So
what are we doing here?
I strongly believe that we are not, that we are a little maybe evil inside. That's why we're still here. Because we're still learning, Derek. I think once you have it figured out, you die.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
I think it's a little bit reductive.
I don't know. I've never, and I know, maybe there is some out there. Wait, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say it.
I don't even know where you're going with whatever you're going to. My head just went to, so you're just saying every child that's been killed in any kind of setting and circumstance that they had it all figured out? I don't know if their parents would agree that this kid had it all figured out.
Maybe not.
But I think, back to keys of success. Well, I try to write about success stuff. So that's very fundamental. I think if you could figure out and be aware enough when you experiment with shifting your thoughts around, your words around, your actions around, your responses around, your beliefs around, and you go, all right, which ones are actually leading me to where I want it? So if you're on, if my son was listening and you're on this left side of this bridge, and he wants to get to the other side of the bridge that he has to cross is a combination of shifting around your thoughts, words, actions, responses, and beliefs. So the idea then is, sometimes each deed that we do shifts our beliefs and our ability to say, oh, look what I can do. Even if I don't believe it, you can actually behave yourself into believing something to help transform your life. Example, back to the example I was sharing earlier about this idea of getting cut from the basketball team. Well, that experience could have taught me, see, you're not good enough. See, you worked really hard and it still wasn't good enough. Or it could taught me, well, keep working hard, and then the opportunity might open up for you to be able to shine without you even realizing it. So then the experience, the deeds of hard work align with the opportunity, align with some of the awards, align with, and now the belief is, oh, if I commit to something, long enough, then it could yield good things in my life.
Yeah.
So if my son was like, whatever that other side of the bridge is, if it's, hey, I want to lose weight, you only have to analyze 5 things in your life: thoughts, words, deeds, responses, and beliefs. And so the right combination of those will lead you to lose the weight. The right combination of those will help you write the book. The right combination of those will help you to find will give you the best opportunity to find a good person. But everything from my paradigm revolves around shifting around your thoughts, words, deeds, responses, and beliefs. If you get that right, then you give yourself the best opportunity.
What do you think, like, especially when people say, like, just have faith in God, that God's going to work it all out?
I want to slap him in the face.
I hear people say that all the time, like, oh, I really want to do this, but I'm just going to leave it in God's hands.
Well, then nowadays people talk about manifesting, but like, I'm one of those, you call me a nerd, call me whatever you want, but the idea is, all right, when that phrase first started being used, like, who was using it and what was the context and when they used it? So I would argue the 1927 book, which would be maybe The Law of Success, or the 1936 book of the Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill, which we should totally read after we're done with the 15 Laws of Growth. Maybe not immediately after, but eventually.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring up that book is because he talks about using your mind and your thoughts and your beliefs to bring about ultimately opportunities, but to align yourself with persistent action. But what if somebody just said, oh, I just want to believe it and I don't want to align myself with persistent action? It's like, well, I wish, if you're asking me the kind of person I would like to compete against to win, to give myself the best opportunity to win, I love to compete against you if you're somebody who just wants to believe and not work hard. Then it's like, yeah. I'm going to beat you so easily.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody who believes...
So don't think I'm easy to beat, Derek. Just kidding.
But yeah, so the idea of that's this idea of... I try to fight against whenever I'm triggered by the word because, not necessarily always wrong, but when somebody says this happened because, it's the whole causation versus correlation.
Yeah.
It's like, wait. You are this way because of one singular event. There might have been 2,500 events that contributed to you being this way.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes some people are like, oh, I'm late all the time because of my mom. Some people say, I'm late all the time because my mom was always early and it bothered me or whatever. It's like, wait. So then there's two opposite situations that led to the same conclusion. So it's probably other things that work here.
Yeah. Lazy.
Yeah. So the keys to success on happiness, I think it's a little bit more happiness as an emotion. I would say you could chase that and you'll find that certain things will make you feel happy. You could chase the dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, the DOSE, or I call it dose of happiness. You could chase those and you could look it up. You could ask ChatGPT, what activities contribute to more dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, and you get a list of activities. Ultimately,
a runner's high.
Ultimately, exercise. Ultimately, doing good things for other people. Ultimately, gratitude. Those are like some consistent things you could always count on. Exercise, doing kind things for other people. Gratitude principles of something a unique thing that you're grateful for today that happened in your life. Those things contribute to happiness. Preach it.
Hallelujah. Yeah, definitely snaps for you. Happiness. I think Mom had this stone, right? And I found it all broken up. So then I was like, not.
Are you the hero of the story? Just kidding. Go ahead. Just kidding.
Anyways, blinks real fast. Okay, so Mom had the stone and it was all broken up, right? And I was like, oh, I'm not doing anything. And I have some glue. Let me glue the stone back together, right? So I'm gluing it back together. And I finished gluing it all back together. Mom comes home. She's like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, like I found this like brick stone broken. I just glued it back together. And she was like, oh, like, what's on it? And I was like, oh, I don't know. So I turned it over. And because I was already done gluing it all back together, I turned it over and it says, the happiest people don't have the best of everything. They make the best of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then we laughed because I had just glued it all back together. So then it made us laugh.
Nice.
But yeah.
Very good. Well done.
I didn't read it before I glued it back together.
Okay. Wait. I keep on going back to the book, but I should be going to the phone. All right.
Number 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is, for me, it's how did you meet my mom and what do you love most about her? For you, of course, it's how did you meet my dad and what do you love most about him? Are you ready? Or do you want me to go?
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
So I met Jeremy at a track meet when we were 13 and 14. He was friends with, so a friend of mine knew some boys from another school, and he was friends in that group, right? So then we met each other like that. And my friends were joking around with me, so they went and told Jeremy that I liked him, even though I didn't like him. Well, I didn't know him, right? So then he asked for my number, but I didn't want to give it to him because I didn't know him. So then my friend gave him my number. Then we started texting. Then I thought he was really cool. And what do I love? Is that what it said? What I love most about him? What I love most about him is that I know that he will always do his best to put me and my kids first.
Let's go, Jeremy.
I think to the best of his ability and as much as he can, he will always try to put us first. And I know that because, that's just how he is.
That's special. That is special. So then your friends made the first move.
Yeah.
So when Khalil asked one day, hey, Mom, what pickup line did my dad use to...
I'm going to say, hello.
Okay. All right. So Angelita and I, we met first at a church conference here in San Antonio. I believe it was 2008. We met briefly. Our mutual friend Cynthia, who was actually at our baby shower, introduced us to each other. I had a girlfriend at the time, so I wasn't interested in learning more about her or anything like that. But I did meet her for the first time at a church little conference thing. And then when I saw her a year later in Louisiana,
single.
I was actually not single yet, but she remembered my name. And then we talked briefly about how the last year has been. And then I think it was the year later, I was single. And things started to sizzle. And what do I love most about her? So it was one thing. Golly, there's so many great things about her. I think...
We picked a great time for this question. Jerry and I are doing great right now.
Why do you think if you were doing bad, you would have badmouthed him as far as what do you...
I might have said that he doesn't mess up as much as he used to. Nah, just kidding. Something like that.
No, you know what? If there was a singular quality, I know we're reading the growth book, but she is somebody who's in an ongoing state of, I think, refining herself and growing and facing uncomfortable conversations and responding to my direction or my correction and responding to the leadership with maturity. She is, I think about it today. She was text messaging words of affirmation. She, even when we were dating, we first said I love you to each other. She didn't want to be somebody who would regularly say it because her and her family didn't normally say it. And I'm like, I probably say it to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like it's such a low standard of
affection.
Yeah, it's like so easy. But anyway, she was sharing with her brother, her sister-in-law. We were texting a little bit, and then she just mentioned how she loved him, and I was like, "Dang, look at this girl over here," and just her progressing, developing, and being so. I think what that does, if you're married to somebody who's getting better and who's growing, it's like, oh man, like I think she's gonna keep getting better.
Yeah.
You know? So it inspires a lot of hope. What are you doing on my table over there? Is what we gotta be asking.
Just scooting all this dust over here into this
Dust,
chili powder, lemon salt.
All right.
Don't worry, it's all in a pile. I'll throw it into my purse later. Yeah. I do think it's crazy, especially like, you know, to see how much someone has grown. Like, and like I said, you know, I'm in a good place in my marriage right now. So
We'll have a button for that. Let's see. We will say
So I think, you know, to see even us two, you know, we've only been married for like 2.5 years or whatever. And I feel like we've gotten so much further. Like we've grown so much with each other and like gotten to know each other and learn different things about each other now that I think it's made us both more understanding towards each other and more accommodating. And I feel like, yeah, like things are just going to keep getting better. They're going to keep getting to a more positive place. And we're both just going to continue to make small adjustments throughout our lives that are going to just make us work even more well together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And understanding that things won't go better in some situations.
Yeah.
But then if you're married to somebody who's committed to character growth, then like it gives you hope. So even when you're in bad situations, they'll respond with maturity.
Yeah. Not to say that even like, you know, in this season, what did we say? Like the season of like not the wintry storms. What is it like in this season of our marriage where we're doing good? Like, you know, there have been things that occur, but I think we have to just constantly get to a point, work towards a point where we know how to not necessarily deal with each other, but, you know, comfort one another or, you know, move past things collectively instead of like dwelling. So I think we're doing good.
Nice. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
Thanks. Next question. No.
Well, the question before that is, when you give birth in December, God willing, who's going to be in the birth room?
No one. No, everybody's welcome to come before. But I don't know. Because we'll see.
We'll see what?
We'll see how I'm feeling.
So if you're feeling good.
If I'm feeling good, Mom can be there too.
Is she going to take pictures this year?
We'll see.
Gotcha.
She's so funny. For anybody who wants to know out there, my mom sent a picture of my nipple to our family group chat.
Accidentally. A nipple pic the day she gave birth to the family.
She's like, look at this first picture of Kalel. All the wives and spouses are like, don't look, honey. Give me your phone. Let me delete it.
That was a classic.
Yeah.
You were so patient about it. I've never seen Aimee this patient about anything. It was, I don't know, maybe you were just surrendered. You were in a state of zen.
I still didn't, like, it still doesn't, you know, it was an accident.
Yeah.
But I do know Krish was like, Grandma, no pictures allowed.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Too funny. Yeah, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because mom's not allowed to be there if she's on the phone like last time. She was stressing everybody out. Not me because I'm used to it, but everybody was like, my dad was like, go be on the phone over there. Let somebody who's going to pay attention be here. Our sister in the chat says, I had to send a side message to mom. Yes, mom, please do not send any family group chat photos without prior approval. For Diamond's daughter when she gave birth.
Yeah. Got you.
Yes. Too funny, too funny. But now here we are, December. I'm super excited. Not okay, like I guess there are moments where I get more excited, but I'm generally excited. It's funny because like it took forever for me to like start to feel Kalal kick when I was pregnant with him. Right, I was like 25 weeks or something. You know, it was like super into my. I think I didn't start to feel him kick till like May, and I had him in June, so it was like super into my pregnancy. Not for sure, anyways, but like I can feel the baby kicking now. Like I can feel him kicking and I can see like his little legs and it's super cool. I always want to take pictures, but the other day I told I shaved my stomach, right? Because I want to take pictures, and Jeremy was like, why'd you shave your stomach? So then I stopped shaving it, and now my hair, because I'm having a boy, my hair is like half an inch long on my belly. So
what about the jungle?
My armpits?
No, don't put it on camera.
I don't remember.
Okay. All right, cool. Next question.
Next question. Don't have a boy if you don't want to grow hair. And then go bald after the baby's born. Because that's what happens.
Okay. Number 6. What advice would you give me about facing challenges and setbacks?
Let it go. Move on. Get back on the horse. Nah, I'm just kidding. No, I think when you are faced with disappointment, it's okay to take a second. You know, maybe not like 6 months, but you know, are faced with a setback and you're like, okay, I need 24 hours. I need 24 hours to lay in bed and cry about this, or sit down and be upset and like eat ice cream all day and pizza and just watch a show and just really feel this sadness. And then, you know, you don't have to plan what you're going to do. You don't have to start working towards something. I think you can take some time to be disappointed and then start to work towards how you're going to, you know, overcome this challenge or disappointment. So I think that's okay.
Yeah, what I found is one of the most refreshing things about trying to do something new or challenging or difficult and then not so. To me, the frame that I think is so helpful and wholesome in the context of a challenge is if I'm going to try to do something new. Let's say I'm going to, you know, write a book. I'm either going to fail at it or I'm going to succeed at it. If I fail at it, hopefully the lessons that I learned, like what I found is I get an entertaining story from a situation of trying to do something, or I get a success story. And those are really the two things. So I either get to entertain people with what happens, or I get to actually have a success story and tell people how I achieved something. So in the context of being able to write books, those are success stories. But then I also get entertaining stories too, because there's things that I messed up in writing the books, and now I can tell people that are things somewhat humorous that I didn't expect. So I think the frame is if my son was listening, he was going, man, you know, Dad, you know, I had this challenge. So part of it is back to that bridge of where he wants to go in life. It's what are your beliefs about this challenge? If you believe that there's lessons to be learned from the challenge, if you believe that you can use this to move forward, then that actually can really help you. And there's something that's so relatable about challenges and suffering that nothing connects quite like challenge does to people. So everybody relates to it. Everybody understands it. Everybody feels the weight of something challenging. And the cool thing about trying new things too is people often respect your courage just to try, because so many other people are going to have the regret of not trying. So I'm very much the sit, pause, reflect, think, then get up and move forward to face a challenge again.
Yeah.
So I know in the past I've been asked about like what advice would you give to somebody in recovering from divorce? And I think to me it's more about back to those 5 areas. Well, what are my beliefs? Like somebody can take the wrong beliefs from a divorce and go, I'm incapable of being loved. I am nothing. Any person who gets in a relationship with me will leave me. I will be abandoned. All those are the wrong beliefs to take from the lesson.
Yeah.
Let's say if this person stopped loving you, okay, that one person stopped loving you. It doesn't mean every person will. That one person may have abandoned you, but it doesn't mean every person will abandon you. So you have to, when you face difficult situations, you have to think about the toxic beliefs that could come from the experience and make sure, and you kind of just want to dig through and ensure and try to guarantee that bad experiences don't lead to bad beliefs, because that's a double loss. So it damaged. You got damage potential in the experience, and you got damage in your beliefs. But what I would ask my son to do is, if you can ask yourself the question, how would I behave if I had a better belief? So maybe back to this divorce situation. Somebody goes through a divorce. If they believed they're unlovable, how would that person behave? Oh, they would never try in a relationship again. But if they believed, no, I can offer something of value inside of a relationship. I believe I can have a special marriage with someone. How would that person behave? Oh, they would continue seeking and trying. So all of that to say is, I think if I would pay close attention to the beliefs that come from the experience, and you can often look at somebody's beliefs simply by their behavior. Their behavior will tell you exactly what they believe.
Yeah. Yes.
I need you to disagree with me more, because this podcast needs some more friction.
I was going to say, also like I guess going back, I think they say, like the master has failed more times than you've even tried something. Like, when you're trying to do something. I actually never had never stopped to think about something, as far as like, oh, that's what you believe. What you believe you get out of something. I think taking things in a more constructive way is more helpful than taking things and assuming the worst of things, like oh, like everyone's gonna leave me, all this, or people who are abandoned, they're like, oh, everybody's gonna leave, so they don't get attached. And I've had that conversation with Mom before, like in the past, that being like, I've asked her, like, when you're in a relationship, like, how do you trust somebody? And she's like, no, you don't. You don't trust someone fully. You always have a backup plan. You always have emergency money in case you want to get away. You always have a way to support yourself, because you don't ever want to be reliant on somebody. You don't ever want to, And I remember getting sad. Like, I remember this conversation that I had with her when I was probably, 15. And I remember getting sad and feeling like, why would I want to feel like that? Why would I want to constantly feel like everyone's going to turn on me? Everyone's going to hurt my feelings. So I remember like making the decision that if I was going to do something, I was going to try to do it my best. And if I got hurt or if something happened, like I would figure that out when that time came. Like I didn't want to constantly be living my life like in case, I don't want to get hurt, so I'm going to prepare. I'm going to always prepare for like in case I get hurt. Like, no, I think that I try really hard to just do things, with my whole heart when I'm doing them, so that just in case it fails, I feel like I did my best. I tried my best and it still didn't work out, and that's fine. Rather than, giving things 50% or 80% or even 99%, not giving it 100%, and then it doesn't work out and you constantly are telling yourself, maybe, it probably is the other person, but maybe it's that I didn't commit fully. I think you miss out on opportunities when you pull yourself away from things, and I think it is something that you do internally. So
Mm.
to the whole,
Yes.
I didn't think about it as what you believe, comes out of that, but I think it's the same concept.
Mm. Yeah, and then I think about too, like everything that we do has an expression of belief. So I sat down on this chair. What did I believe? I believe the chair was going to hold me up.
Yeah.
I got into my car and I drove my wife to work this morning. I got into the car with the belief that it would propel me forward and navigate me around the city. So there's like so many beliefs that we have built in that if you just pause and look at behaviors, you can see what the beliefs are saying. So if all of a sudden you find yourself not with the behaviors that you want, you might look at beliefs, or if you're
Yeah.
or if you already identify your beliefs to be off, okay, well maybe you just need to have enough behaviors lined up to help you propel you into the beliefs that you want to have about life or about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I do think, what you believe does come to pass a lot more often than what you don't believe.
Hmm. All right, we ready for the next one?
Yepperoni.
What are your hopes and dreams for my future?
I hope that my kids have the family that they want, have a career that makes them happy, or a career that not only challenges them but keeps them engaged. So I hope that they have people in their circle who are good to them and support them, even if just morally. Whoop, whoop.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hopes and dreams for my future. Yeah, I wrote a definition of success that goes along the lines of something like this, which is like holding on to the virtues that are important to us, even though we're in conditions that maybe aren't ideal for the virtues. So the idea then is the virtue of patience isn't maybe the most comfortable thing in the world to us, but to hold on to it, even especially when it feels like the most unnatural thing in the world, or it feels like the most natural. Like everything in my nature wants to be impatient and wants to be harsh, or somebody who's able to be humble, even when they're having this recognition. Let's say they get all the awards, they have the best grades, and they have the best athletics, and then like they're winning. So then when somebody's winning a lot, the challenge isn't arrogance. Arrogance, the definition of like this inflated view of self, this inflated view of self, but like really so somebody to be successful and then to be humble, that's when humility is challenging when you're very successful.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what I hope and dream for is that they would embrace virtues that sometimes are the most difficult to embrace based on the conditions that they're in. So when it seems like it's convenient to give up, they have that spirit of persisting. When it seems like, oh, maybe I'll be a little more comfortable if I lied, no, that they tell the truth. So it kind of goes back to the discussion we had earlier about values, that they would hold on to values even though the alternative seems very, very tempting. I think that's what I care about. So the idea is, if my kid worked at a McDonald's and he was in 40s and 50s and 60s, I think I go, you know what, like, bro, like, the virtue of hard work is important. And if you're hardworking over there, then power to you. It doesn't have to be something. It doesn't have to be a nurse or a doctor or an engineer or a business owner. But it can be those things too. But you can have strong character as a McDonald's worker.
Uh-huh.
And you can have poor character as a lawyer.
Yeah.
So like, to me, it's less about the job or position and more about the character behind the person.
Yes.
All right, number 8, last 3. Can you share a lesson you learned from a mistake you made?
Oof. I could share a lot. Let's see. It says mistake, Derek. Definitely. I have learned, especially like now, to really try and not, and like that's going back to values as well. Like, try not to do things to other people that you don't want done to yourself. So like, I've made the mistake of like not considering other people, like when.
Are you about to give us a generality, or are you going to give us a Pacific moment?
Let's see, a
Pacific
moment.
is terrific.
Okay. Let's see. So.
Ooh. Go ahead.
What?
I thought about mistakes that I made, and I was like, yeah.
Good mistakes. So, like, I've made the mistake of let's see, like when I moved out of my apartment, right? I moved out of my apartment when I was living in another city, and I had gotten into an argument with my roommate, right? So I was like, well, I'm just going to pack all my stuff and I'm not going to pay my rent. So I left. I didn't pay my rent, right? I didn't pay my half of the rent or whatever it was. And because I was, we got into a big argument and it was just like, I was upset. So I went and so then I got a car. I had just got a car. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to save my money and put it into my car. So then I'm out and about, being reckless, just driving around at night and hanging out with my friends. And I moved back home, so, like back to San Antonio. So I had an apartment here. And running around in my car that, I spent my rent money on to buy my car, I ended up crashing my car. So it was like, car gone forever. So I think, and that's something that I did, like 4 years ago, not like 10 years ago. I did that not that long ago. So, I did that not being the best person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, that's not something that I would want to do. That's not something that I would want somebody else to do to me. Not that, I haven't been in that situation where my roommate doesn't pay their rent and then I have to pay.
Yeah.
But, I know how it felt to be on the other end of it and to like have to pay more of my money for something and have to do all this. And it's like, now I've gotten to the point where I understand that even if it's hard, like, sometimes when I'm going to buy something or going to do something, or like, and even like at some certain places and like the cashier's not there and they're taking a really long time to come to the front, and I'm like, oh, I could just walk out, like, or you think stuff like that. And it's like, okay, let's, if I was the owner of the store, I wouldn't want somebody doing that to me. So I think those things, and I think that's all definitely lessons learned. It's lessons learned, and it's taught me to be more mindful. Obviously, it's like the things that you get from not treating other people the way you want to be treated, like, they're not fruitful. I think that, I think when you do things honestly, it's more fruitful for your life, it's more fruitful for your soul, and it improves you more than if you're doing things mischievously. Mischievously?
That was good. And that was, no, I appreciate your example that in, the driving recklessly, the crashing the car, those are, mistakes made that are, solid lessons to learn from those situations. Yes.
Yep.
I think mine,
Sadness.
I would say, I think it was like a problematic beliefs about brotherhood. And I think brotherhood, specifically I'm talking about like even with me and Jetty, I think I've asked myself the question. So let's say if I have two boys, what messages will I be giving the older brother about his relationship and the way he should think about his relationship with the younger brother, right? And so, and maybe somebody tried to teach it to me and I just didn't take the message. Let me be open-minded to that possibility. However, I've wondered, was somebody impressing upon me, hey, Derek, like, be an example for him. Like, hey, include him and bring him around.
Yeah.
Hey, be kind to him and really look after him. Like, look after, take care of, be there for. I think they're lessons I think I learned later on in life, and I'm grateful for those other lessons. But I think the immature version of me before I kind of like really, it was really before. It wasn't until really I started seeking after God and seeking after Jesus, where then it was like this vision of, be an example and be there and speak up for and teach lessons and be present and all of these things. So I go, I wish when I was younger as a brother, I wanted him to do well, like in basketball games, or do well in school. I wish that I believed that him doing well didn't make me look bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like there wasn't, it's this phrase called a zero-sum game, that if he has a +1 in life, like he won the game, that doesn't mean that I have a -1.
Yeah.
It's not even about me. I'm not, again, in that context, I'm not even a character in his life. He's allowing other people to be main character, to get praise, to get recognition. So I think I wish I would have done better at that. So I wish I would have been less angry, I think, toward him, and less bully-like and more kind and considerate. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I think those are the mistakes I made, which was, I feel like I just didn't want him to do well, and I just feel like, why did I think that? Why did I believe that? But then I also ask, would somebody have been able to kind of dig that belief out of my brain?
Yeah.
With therapy have helped. You know what I'm saying? With a parent who is really digging in and asking questions and kind of identifying that belief in there and helping to mold that belief. I don't know. It does make me wonder. But I do carry a certain amount of shame about it. Like there's a shame of, like, when I see other brothers who look after each other.
Yeah.
Even if I'm at a young age, I'm like, dang, like, I wish I would have been more like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a shame I feel about it, but I'm very, very grateful that I think maybe if we're talking to our kids, and I'm talking to my son, that maybe the good news inside of that is you can have a reputation for behaving ugly or being a bully, and you're not too far from redemption.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be redeemed. And it's like the good things people say about me is like it's crazy when I think of the shame I feel about that portion of my life, you know, being bully like and not like genuinely in my mind not wanting him to do well in basketball games that I would go to. And I go like there's so much shame I have about it that I go like the fact that I like whatever he loves me and like you know wants me involved in his life and his kids' lives is like what like and like I could be like what but man I feel so bad about who I
Yeah.
was you know during that time period. So I guess for my son, you know, what I would want him to know and understand is you can be somebody that you're ashamed of for a time period and you don't have to stay that way.
Mm-hmm.
And the road I know to the road of redemption is to, you know, I know I probably just keep coming back to this every episode. I just can't help thinking that I know Jesus is a road to redemption, to changing your life, to changing your beliefs, to changing how you operate and how you see things.
Amen.
Any thoughts?
No, I think if that's how you feel, I feel it with you, brother. But Jetty is good though. He's a nice one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to still include you in things, no matter how evil you were.
Yeah.
But that's because I don't know. I think he's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's crazy because when I'm aware of how wrong I've been in the past, I'm fully ready to accept somebody's permanent rejection of me. I'm not no like that's fair.
Yeah.
And then so like, and I think what I love about again maybe my Christian faith, and it's this belief, it's called total depravity, and it's this idea that like we're so not good people, and I love this part about the story, and it's like it's almost in this the belief system is like, and I don't maybe I don't fully embrace a lot of it, but it's like it's almost like we're incapable of doing good, and the only good we do is like with God's help.
Yeah.
And which I don't fully embrace that, but let me finish saying it. I love that it keeps me from being entitled.
Yeah.
Because I'm again so back to Jetty. If he said, hey, like I'll say hi to you at Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I would go, no, I mean. That would be very 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 nice of you. Like when I could be the shame I have about again being a bully as a kid is so strong, and then it's like flash forward and I know he celebrated his anniversary last week, and it's like, and he asked me to be his best man, and it's like there's a reason like I wept at being asked because it's like I know how bad I've. You know, I knew how angry and hateful I was, and it's like I'd be okay if you never wanted to talk to me because I think I'd get it, but then it's like, what? Like you try to honor me on your special day is like crazy, so
crazy.
But I wonder for anybody who doesn't recognize their own evil, do they not get a chance to really value and appreciate good things?
I do think that.
Because I feel very in tune with my evil, present and past.
Yeah.
And I go,
how do you get to that point? Like let me just say this too, because I
Yeah.
know, like, I have seen people who, like, they're posting all about, like, Jesus of my life. I'm going to church every Sunday. And then I see them in their life make a decision that's inconsiderate of other people. And I'm like, how can you do that? Like, I understand. Like, I understand that, like, sometimes people are just not at that place. But it's like, how do you get to that point where, like, you not only think, like, you're doing good things through God, but at the same time, you want to do and be considerate of other people as well? Like, how do you get in tune with you being inconsiderate of someone else?
Mm.
Because, like, just even just like myself, like, I've seen myself do favors for, like, let's say my friends or
Yeah.
people that I know that are, like, super into church, and then I'm doing this favor for them, and then instead, like, they're making it harder for me, like, almost like an entitlement kind of thing. And it's like, like, I'm doing you a favor, like, really, really, I'm just doing you a favor. And then, then, like, oh, like, super into church, like, and super doing this. And it's like, okay, like, that, all that's fine. And it's, whatever. But, like, I ask myself, like, oh, maybe, like, and I've tried to, like, also tell myself, like, maybe they just don't know that not only asking me to pick them up, but also, like, to pick them up and then take them, 30 minutes out of my way and then come back, like, that's inconsiderate. Like, if you needed a ride in an emergency because there was nobody else, like, I'll go get you. But then for me to go get you and then you want me to take you to the grocery store and then to the bank and then take you home, like, that's...
And you're saying without the acknowledgement of the inconvenience
Yeah.
and your service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, to me, like, how do you notice those things about yourself if that's the kind of person that you are? Because I acknowledge that you understand. Like, you understand now that you weren't being considered before. And that even, like, if you have thoughts now about things, like, you're understanding that that's not, that's not nice, But it's like, how do you get to that point? And does it take someone telling you?
It does make me wonder if it's the skill of living in somebody else's, like, imagining somebody else's experience. Like, because the interesting thing with, again, on the Christian side of it, let's say the person is a transformed person, and it's like we can kind of project golden rule in, like, the wrong way, which is like, oh, I would, like, let's say they're a legit change person, like, God has done them, some powerful stuff in their life, and they're like, their beliefs are different, their thoughts are different, and now the mistake is they're projecting this, oh, if I was her in her car, yeah, I'll honor Jesus by doing this. So then she's doing for me what I do for her.
Yeah.
And it's almost this, like, innocent inconsideration.
Yeah.
But I guess the skill is imagining what would life be like living in their shoes. What if they were somebody who was impatient or angry or had a short fuse, or they got bitter easily when then it makes me go, how would I ask the question to somebody like that, and how would I express my gratitude to them, saying, oh man, like, oh, you didn't have to do all of this. Like, I'm so grateful. I don't even have gas money for you. Can I, cook you some ramen noodles or something to say thank you? You know what I'm saying? Like, but I think it's something that maybe having those conversations together, and that's something that sometimes can be missed in the Christian world, which is like what we call, like, discipleship, or the mentoring one for each other. And it's having these, like, uncomfortable conversations of going, hey, like...
And that goes back to my don't hurt people. Like, sometimes you do hurt them a little.
Yeah, and it's hurting their ego.
Yeah.
It's like you're hurting their idea of, hey, I was kind of bothered. You didn't really say thank you.
Yeah.
you know, or you didn't acknowledge like how I went out of the way for you.
Yeah.
And so like you kind of work through some of those things, which again, the convenient thing is to run, hide, and hey, never having a conversation, and hey,
Yeah.
you know, see you later, and then just have the resentment or whatever. But then the hard thing is actually having the conversation.
Yeah.
So people joke that my groom honoring party, which is kind of like the Christian bachelor party without the naked women.
Yeah.
And they made fun of, like, they did a skit of me and Angelita, because with my friends, I always tease them if they're trying to like say sorry to me or something, or like they're trying to apologize. But if they never like say they apologize or say the word sorry, in my head I'm going, yep. And sometimes I'll jump out of character on purpose, and I'll be like, oh, doesn't count. You didn't say sorry. You didn't say the words. like, oh, they say, oh, I felt bad about that. Okay. So are you sorry? Or are you apologizing? Or like, so I didn't hear the actual words. I hear you feel bad about it.
Yeah.
So are you committed to a change or whatever? So I'm like, whatever, technical, nerdy. I'm like, I actually like to hear the apology or sorry somewhere in there. So for me, when I show up late to things, I'll almost always go, hey, like, sorry for showing up late. Like, I don't want to waste your time. Like, I don't ever want to disrespect your time.
Yeah.
I learned that phrase at Nationwide. We would say it all the time. If somebody showed up late to a meeting, they don't want to be disrespectful of somebody else's time. So, but they knew me for teasing about incomplete apologies.
Yeah.
And they made that part of the skit with me in my hypothetical marriage to Angelita. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Where were we at?
Jetty.
It's a one-word summary. But where were we at? Oh, mistakes that we made, lessons.
Yeah.
Oh, but that lesson of coming to grips with your own evil. Like,
Yeah.
I guess people, again, so back to the thing is like the idea that people don't. I feel like my gratitude will always be stronger as I recognize my own evil
Yeah.
for any good things that happen. My sister comes over, like, it's such a beautiful thing that I feel like it's a blessing I get to experience. And I go, again, if I compare this blessing with the evil that I've done in life, then I go, this blessing always looks pretty good. You know, it looks great.
Yeah.
But if I don't have this blessing is good, but it doesn't look as good as with whatever wrongdoing I've done in my life.
Yeah.
So does that mean that people who stop remembering their evil just aren't going to be as grateful?
Yeah. I completely understand what you mean. Like, based on, especially like the evil things that I've done, like in the past, I'm like, man, I really don't deserve all this. I'm really so blessed. Like, I think about it like, man, I'm really so blessed, because I think about, I think about my husband, I think about my son, I think about how amazing my marriage is right now. I think about how blessed I am to have my family, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't deserve this. I was so evil. I was so mean. Even like, I've even done things to, like, I've known Jeremy for 10 years, so I've done things before, like, to hurt him. So it's like I've hurt Jeremy, and he's still, being an amazing husband now. Like,
Yeah.
I've done things to, I've done so many things, and I feel so like, oh man, I feel so blessed in the things that I have, like, now
Yeah.
to be able to do. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
I try to let, I guess, best thing to do would be to let everybody know that I'm grateful. Even though not only have I been evil, but they were there to witness, and even
they got the receipt.
they even were on the receiving end of the evil sometimes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've joked before in like a church message when I was just like, so I haven't had a driving ticket since I was 17 years old. So I'm on 21 years without any kind of violation. And I feel like a pretty darn good driver with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I hit that one person with my car. And it was like all of my good points, all of my good points that I've accumulated for these 21 years of driving. I hit one pedestrian. And it's like this one stupid thing that I did, like, cancels out all of the points. Oh, snap. She's saying hello. We have a meeting. Let me leave to go pick her up. All right, everybody.
Well, we're off.
All right, cool. All right, so see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.